Hello and welcome to the inaugural video on the MMA Engine channel. I am truly honored to be one of your hosts for Lou and Monk's Happy Hour on this Friday night, February 25th, 2022. I say the date because, as I said, it's the most important date of the year so far, the debut of the MMA Engine YouTube channel at Lou Betya. Lou, what is going on, man? Are you as excited as I am to be hitting up the YouTube with some history right now?
I am, and as long as we get this new channel smell out of here, this thing's
Yeah.
gonna pop. Four of us are working really hard right now, getting this thing off the ground. We're less than a month away from launching everything. Yeah, and I never thought I would own anything, so this is nice to even have a channel. And we got some fights coming up, some interesting ones, some bangers. And again, a really questionable co-main event that I just don't understand the match order. But let's get to it, my man. And if you guys could, be very important to us. Please like and subscribe to the channel as we're starting out. We really appreciate your support. Thank you.
100%. And thank you for saying that. That is the one thing I always forget to say. And those YouTube scientists say that it works. So again, please like and subscribe to the channel, guys. We are here to break down all 11 fights for UFC Vegas 49 happening at the Apex Center right there in Las Vegas, Nevada. And as Lou said, let's jump right into it. First fight of the night. Two Dana White Contender Series guys. You know they're Dana White Contender Series because their names are in yellow right here. So that means they have no actual UFC fights. Let's get into it. Victor Alto Morano, 5'8", switch stance fighter, 70-inch reach, 31 years old. This is going to be a flyweight contest going up against Carlos Hernandez, also 5'8", 67-inch reach, 28 years old. Both of these guys have one professional loss, and it looks like Victor has one more finish. 5 out of 10 wins by finish over Carlos, who has 4 out of 7 wins by finish. This is the closest line fight on the card as far as DraftKings goes. I'll go ahead and start this one off. As I said, these are both DWCS guys, so if you plugged DraftKings numbers into their Dana White Contender Series fights, here's what would have happened. Alto Morano would have went off pretty much. 5.29 raw DraftKings points per minute. He gave up almost 5 per minute, 109 points total in a win. You absolutely love to see that. That's going to make the optimal lineup at $8,000. I don't know, 9.5 out of 10 times. So you absolutely love to see that. On the other side, Carlos Hernandez, 8,200. He scored just under 3 points per minute, Lou. Allowed 3.59, 74 points in that win he would have scored, so a very low number. Both fights did go all 15 minutes. So you see the Alto Morano had the much higher volume here. I guess if I have to pick a side for DraftKings, I'm going to kind of favor Alto Morano. Especially in 20 max. I'm going to kind of focus on 20 max throughout this show, pretty much just for ease of thinking. So I'm probably not going to have too much Carlos Hernandez, maybe a couple lineups with each guys, but I'm not really going to be focused on this fight. I don't know what to expect, Lou, so I want to see how each of them does in their UFC debut before I'm comfortable rostering them. The last thing I'll bring up before I pass it over to you, Alto Morano has a fantastic strength of schedule in his last 5 fights. He is 4-1 professionally. You want these strength of schedule numbers on my charts to be about 70 to 75. That's where his average. Anywhere higher than that, you're good. He's got a 76% opponent win percentage in his last 5, 90 strength of defeat. Meanwhile, Carlos Hernandez is undefeated in his last 5, but his strength of schedule is in the mid-50s. And I don't have to tell you, if you just heard me, that is pretty low. So how do you like this one, as I am just barely favoring Alto Morano here?
Well, first of all, the line, when this fight, got released, the line was just about even, and it's gotten steamed on the Hernandez end. He's up to minus 145. And I see why. I think that Alto Morano, just going off their Contender Series fight in the limited tape I've seen, Alto Morano he moves weird. He doesn't move like a human being should move. His limbs are it's just, I can't explain. It's not, I don't want to say he's like Jardine, but he certainly has weird movements. Whereas Hernandez, I think there's a clear path here. I think his game is takedown, 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 takedown. I don't think he has the strongest takedown game, but Alto Morano doesn't seem to have any takedown defense. And I think this might be a rinse and repeat situation. I don't know if Hernandez is going to damage him. And on the feet, Alto Morano might have a slight edge. It's close. But I think Hernandez can just keep chucking him down. I think he can win a relatively safe decision. I'm picking Hernandez. I have not decided if I'm getting the betting window on this one. It's really low. It's really low level, and it's a fight that I don't think Alto Morano won his Contender Series fight. Let me get that out of the way too. It was a very close fight. You can make a case he lost, and I believe Dana White. That's the first time he gave both fighters a contract. It was during that fight. I'm going to pick Hernandez again. I don't know that I'm going to bet it. If I do, it will be on my Twitter. But my lean is him just because of the ground control. But there are better spots on this card to get your money in on.
Absolutely. And just to cap that off, Alto Morano is actually the one that landed some takedown points in that Dana White Contender Series fight. Carlos Hernandez did allow a bunch, as did Alto Morano here. So you're absolutely right. We're going to see what happens on the ground. And yeah, check Lou's Twitter to see if there are any more bets dropping there. Like he said, pretty low level, but it could be an interesting spot if you have a lean one way or the other. Next fight of the night, welterweight fight, Ramiz Brahimaj going up against Michael Gilmore. Brahimaj, 5'10", 72-inch reach, 29 years old. He is 9-4 professionally. Off to a rough start, 1-2 in the UFC. Looking to balance that one out here, going against Gilmore. 5'11", 74-inch reach, 34 years old, so a bit bigger than Brahim. Well, metrically bigger. I don't know if he'll actually be, more jacked than Brahimaj, probably not. And a few years older, 6-4 professionally, off to an even rougher start than Brahimaj at 0-1 in the UFC. I'm going to go ahead and let you start this one off, Lou. I think this is a pretty one-sided fight, but I would love to hear your opinion.
Well, look, let's get to the real heart of the matter here. We shouldn't be analyzing this fight. We should be analyzing Michael Gilmore against Johnny by God Parsons.
By God.
The rumor that I heard is that Parsons felt Gilmore was beneath him and he's waiting for his title shot against Usman, so he withdrew from this fight, which I can understand. So in his place comes Brahimaj. Now, Brahimaj is kind of killing us as a community. I was on Court McGee on his last fight, but I did not expect it to be. I kind of expected maybe McGee to weather the storm. He's so tough that that was going to be a tough first round, but he got nothing going against McGee. Court McGee, to his credit, just looked like an animal. Gilmore is terrible, and Petrossian owned him. If I'm thinking of the right fight, Philly boy Petrossian. This seems like a very clear round one sub. This almost seems like it's too easy, and that makes me leery. But I'm going to bite, and I'm going to go Brahimaj round one sub. It's plus 200 on DraftKings. It's come down a little bit, but if this gets out of the first, I don't even know if this is a good live betting spot for Gilmore. He's shown no, unless he's got a late KO on him. Brahimaj might even be able to just grapple him for 2 rounds and play it safe on a win, but the round one sub to me is winning condition here, even on short notice. What do you got on your end?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I just like the guys on both sides of him as far as DraftKings salary goes a bit more, like Islam, who we'll talk about, and like Armin Surukian, who we will get to as well. I mean, I like Brahimaj's numbers in his one win. He did score 104.76 points, but he's only scored 1.78 raw DraftKings points per minute over 3 fights. That is very low as far as the card is concerned. Average value of 5.92, and his average salary is $8,000. We have to pay up $1,300 for the chance that Ramiz Brahimaj gets a first-round sub here to pay off that salary. Luckily for him and for Rami's backers, he is going up against Michael Gilmore, who scored 1.05 against who you said Petrossian. I almost said Petrossian. Petrossian gave up 4.63 points per minute. So if anyone wants to give up points, it's Gilmore. I do like Brahimaj here. I will find a way to roster him, but he is going to be my lowest of the 9,000, the 91, 93, and 95 $100 fighters. Brahimaj, I feel like will probably be my lowest, just because if he does not get that sub, who the hell knows what's going to happen, man. I don't think Gilmore obviously is going to do anything close to what Court McGee did to him, but yeah, I don't know. I just question the gas tank. If he, like I said, if he doesn't get that first round sub, this could be a lot of salary you're kind of throwing away for a non-optimal score. So I will be picking Brahimaj and rostering him, but with tempered expectations. How's that?
I mean, who names themselves the gentleman as a UFC fighter? Like, come
That's
on.
true. I mean, a true gentleman. I think. I mean,
no, your name should be like your name should be like, you know, guy with a knife or something, not like the gentleman. How can I back the gentleman?
I know that's real, like European, like the Kingsman type shit.
And that is the technical wizardry and advice you will get on the MMA engine.
Exactly. This is the only
analysis like that.
This is the only place you'll get it, and that is a fact. Third fight of the night, Alejandro, guy with a knife, Perez, going up against Jonathan Martinez. Featherweight fight. Looks like both guys are, I don't know, maybe I have this in wrong. It seems like they both fought at bantamweight before. This one is at featherweight.
This one was moved up. This one was.
Oh yeah, this was the one that moved up. That's
Perez,
right.
The Perez camp, I believe the Perez camp asked it to be moved up a weight class earlier.
Wrong Jew should have taken that advice. Perez, 5'6", 67-inch reach, 32 years old, 22, 8-1 professionally, 8-3-1 in the UFC. Jonathan Dragon Martinez, 5'8", 70-inch reach, southpaw fighter, 27 years old, 14-4 professionally, 5-3 in the UFC. Martinez is going to have the much higher salary here, $8,800 going against $7,400 for Perez. I'm going to probably have some Perez in my lineups just for salary relief. I'm trying to get to as much Armand, to as much Islam, and honestly as much Brahimaj as possible. And that means I'm going to have to put in some very low level guys like Alejandro Perez. He scores less than 2 points a minute, 76 points overall, or on average, I should say, over his 8 wins. So not a great number there, but pretty consistently low as a matter of fact. His average salary is $8,100, so you're paying $700 less than you usually would. Jonathan Martinez, $8,800. What do you get for that? 2.81 DraftKings points per minute, but a 76.87 DraftKings points per win. So another low level or low scoring guy in Martinez, and that's over 5 fights. He's given up 90 points in a loss. Perez 93 points in a loss. So what are we going to get here? The winner coming out with a 70-some point decision, or are we going to get somebody that maybe has a second or third round finish and they score 90 points, and maybe the lower salary guy makes the optimal lineup in a win? That's kind of how I'm leaning here. If I have to choose one of these guys, I'm choosing Perez. Jonathan Martinez, the salary voodoo here is not good for the $8,800 salary. It has a fantastic winning percentage at 72%. But it only makes the optimal lineup at about 25% of those wins. For some reason, that salary is one of the lowest chances of making the optimal lineup in that entire range, from like 8,200 all the way up. And it just happened last week with Kyle Daukaus making the optimal lineup at the $8,800 salary. So I'll be trying to roster a bit of Perez. Probably if I have to choose, I'm not going to get to much Martinez this week, Lou, in DraftKings. What do you got on the betting side of things?
Well, I can see why you wouldn't get to Martinez, because he's knockout or bust.
Yep.
On the Perez side, I mean, look, I'm not really impressed. You look at his last 3 fights. He lost to Cody Stamann. Song Yadong knocked him in the next week. And then, he beat a 90-year-old. So I don't really know what to make of that. As far as Martinez, he's one of these guys that I look at him and I'm like, man, this guy, he's got the skills. He looks like he has the skills on his feet to stand with anybody. He's been okay. He lost to Ewell. I thought he won that fight, if I'm being honest. Comes back, he beats Frankie Sains. Like, all right. He beats Almeida by unanimous decision, which I think that's a solid win. And then he loses to Davey Grant, who, like, I love Davey Grant, and he is dangerous, and Grant got him. Comes back with a win over Lavishvili. I like Martinez on the feet. So I think what we're going to get here is, I think Perez is going to, the first 3 minutes of this fight is going to empty the tank. That's just how he fights. In that first 3-4 minutes, he's going to blitz him. And if he can't get Martinez out of there, and historically it doesn't look like he can, then Martinez is going to start picking him apart. Now, leg 1 of the world famous Holland hand job parlay.
Sponsored by?
I don't have a sponsor this week, so I'm going to say, Mel's Pet Hospital and Drive-In Barbecue Restaurant. It's our sponsor for the week.
There you go.
Get us kicked off the
Mel.
air.
Appreciate it, dog.
Get kicked off the air on our first show here. I like Martinez KO as the first leg of the 10,000 parlay. I think it's there. I think he has a huge cardio advantage. I think the volume will start piling up. I have a side bet, a straight bet on him, round 2 KO at plus 1,300. I think he gets him out of there. Let me just make sure that is. Yep. I think he's going to get him out of there. I could see it going a decision route, but I think Martinez's volume is going to pile up. And I also think that he's going to have a huge cardio advantage here as the fight wears on. If you do see after one round, if Perez looked good and you get good odds for a live bet on Martinez, it's worth it. I think Martinez will win the rounds 2 and 3. It's round 1 that you worry about a little bit, but if the price is right for rounds 2 and 3, or for a live bet after round 1, I jump on it.
Yeah, for sure. And the last thing I will say on this one, if this does go all 3 rounds, the scores do not look good, man. Alejandro Perez, 49.84 points in his decision wins, his unanimous decision wins, to be specific. Jonathan Martinez, 67.24 in his unanimous decision wins. So not great scores there. We will keep it moving. Next fight, Terence McKinney going against Fares Ziam. Let's see. McKinney. This is going to be a lightweight fight. McKinney, 73-inch reach, switch stance fighter, 27 years old. He is 11-3 professionally. He's technically 1-0 in the UFC. I do have him as 1-1 here. I did have to add his Dana White Contender Series fight because a 7-second knockout really messes things up when you're trying to get your stats right here. Just kind of made, he's going to score 200 points this week. It was crazy off the chain. So Fares Ziam on the other side, 6'1", 75-inch reach, orthodox fighter, 24 years old, 12-3 professionally, 2-1 in the UFC. 9 wins by way of finish as far as Fares Ziam, 9 out of 12 fights. And then all 11 of Terence McKinney's professional wins have finished inside the distance. What do you got for this one, Lou? I think I know which way you are leaning here.
Well, I typically don't like betting on fights that have been rebooked because the bookies get that advantage of knowing how the action was going. So this was rebooked from, I want to say November.
Yeah, I was going to say the end of last year. Yeah.
Yeah, I could pull it up right now. It's November or December. Yeah, end of November. I'm bigger on McKinney than I think most of the community is because I've gone through his tape and everybody's like, yeah, he's a 1-round guy and that's it. Well, I mean, first of all, he's crushing people in the first round every fight. But before that, he has 11 finishes and 6 are by sub. Now his last 5 are by knockout. So you worried maybe he's fallen in love with his hands a little bit. You see that a lot with some fighters that start getting some knockouts. But the guy's a very strong wrestling game, and he's coming from a good camp. I got to think the strategy is to not be on the feet. Maybe or use the striking to get the fight to the ground. Because people seem to avoid ZM like the plague on the feet. His striking is very crisp. He's very technical. My problem with ZM is he's low volume. He never shows urgency. Now, I think McKinney is going to get him out of there with a sub. This is a gut feeling I had on last Sunday. I said, when I saw the fight, I'm like, McKinney's going to get him out of there, but it's not going to be the way people think. I have him as a straight bet round 2 sub at plus 2,500. It's now down to 2,200. Still great odds. He's not winning in round 3. If it goes to round 3, he may be in some trouble. He does have 2-round cardio. I have him in the distance at plus 175. And then leg 2 of the 10K parlay is his submission prop, which is at 9-1, which I love because I feel like it's definitely more than 11% of his winning condition. What do you got?
I agree. I actually was going to be fading this entire fight, but after hearing, you just put the cap on it, but after kind of paying, listening to you and, guys like Brady and Wheezy and whatnot, it was really just a huge fade to Fares Ziam specifically. I mean, I'm very glad that McKinney is the lower salaried fighter. I'm not going to have any of Ziam in 20 maxes, for instance. If I was playing GPPs, very, very low. He's just like you said, a very low volume striker, 56.88 points per win, and that's over his 2 wins. He's getting outpointed minus 1.14 points per minute differential. And you're paying up for Fares Ziam here. Usually he's $7,900. That's his average over 3 fights. He is now $8,400. did not make the optimal lineup in his one fight since 2021, whereas obviously Terence McKinney did. I'm not saying a repeat's going to happen here, like you said. Ziem very, very slick with the defensive striking. Gets hit some of the least amount of strikes absorbed in the entire division per minute. So I 100% agree with you. If McKinney is going to win, he needs to go for takedowns. And if he's going to go for takedowns, I have to roster him here. Like you said, you need those takedowns. You need that control time. If he gets that sub, that's even better. Get those finish points. So I am going to increase my exposure to Terence McKinney. I need a couple more dogs that are looking good here, since Rong Zhu did miss weight by about 4 pounds or so. And I like Terence McKinney here as well. So you convinced me. You convinced me, Lou. I'm going to increase my exposure on McKinney. I just can't do it with Ferris. Even if he comes out and starches McKinney, fine. Next fight, maybe I'll think about it. But this one, not a chance. You haven't shown me anything at all. Next fight of the night could be the most exciting fight on the entire card. I guess we'll find out.
Monk, can I add one more thing? That last fight, I didn't realize I was on
panicked. Mute. I thought I was muted. I was like, oh God, I've been muted again. Yeah,
just one more thing about McKinney is a lot of these guys that wrestle, like typically, they have like a pro wrestler, they have a finishing move. They have like their one, go-to move. This guy is won by 3 different kinds of submissions. He has a heel hook, he has an arm bar, he has rear naked chokes. I always like seeing that when I look for these sub props, because it shows if one thing doesn't work out, the guy has no problem going for transitions.
How has Ferris been subbed? He's been subbed twice. Do you know that off the top of your head? I don't want to put you on the spot, but yeah, I mean, if he's been subbed twice, I'd love to know if it was like a rear naked or a guillotine.
Both by rear naked.
There you go.
Which McKinney has 3 of them. But I like the idea that he can transition out of it if need be. And, like a lot of times they'll see a guy that has a great choke that if he can't get it, all of a sudden he starts burning his legs out and he doesn't know how to get off just going for the one move. So I like that McKinney appeared with that kind of, when you see that, you're like, all right, well, he knows if he can't get it, pound them a little bit more, work a different part of the body. I always like seeing a guy be able to move around and work different parts of the body like that.
100%. That's a great point. So yeah, I mean, even more of a reason to add a little exposure on the McKinney side, in my opinion. Next fight, women's, and this is surprising to me, women's featherweight fight. Josiane Nunes, 5'2", 67-inch reach southpaw fighter, 28 years old. Yes, those are her measurables. She is 8-1 professionally, 1-0 in the UFC, beating Betya in her debut fight. Ramona Pasquale on the other side, 5'7", 66-inch reach, so 5 inches taller and a 1 inch shorter reach than Nunes. 33 years old, 6-2 professionally. I don't have any stats on her as far as UFC or DraftKings, but she does have 5 wins out of 6, all that have finished inside the distance, I should say. 4 KO TKOs and 1 submission. She has been finished in both of her losses. I'll go ahead and start this one off just because I don't have much. Josiane Nunes, 8,900. She did make the optimal lineup going against Malecki. Look at this volume or pace per minute, 6.32 points per minute in that fight, 120, almost 121 in that win. Fantastic. You are paying up because of that outcome, however. $1,300 more than she was in her fight against Betya Malecki. But she looked great in that fight. Who can deny? Ramona Pasquale, like I said, I have no stats here. The $7,300 salary wins at a 27% rate. Nunes and the $8,900 salary win at a 65% rate. I'm probably going to have both sides of this fight, probably just a tad more. Well, probably equal sides, Nunes and Pasquale, maybe about 20% in a 20 max, just kind of sprinkled in there. Maybe 1 or 2 extra lamps with Pasquale just for the salary relief. But honestly, I think, according to everyone and including Computer Monk, this one is going to finish inside the distance. So, I mean, I got to have some of both sides, right? How do you see this one going? 8,900 is a bit much for Nunes, in my opinion. But it might be a chance I have to take here.
They're really showing off the depth of 145 with this fight.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't know. I didn't realize it was so deep.
So I'm not even going to do a technical analysis on this fight because I don't see a reason to, but I'm going to tell you that I'm betting Ramona Pasquale. And the reason is the line doesn't make sense. I feel like Nunes should be lined, especially against a newcomer who has, what does she have, 6 fights, 7 fights, I believe, 8 fights.
Nunes, yeah. Well, I have 9, but who's counting?
You would have
Pascal
thought
has 8.
Pascal is 8. You would
Yeah.
think Nunez would be minus 400, but she's not. And it's strange because all she did was go and like probably end Malecki's career. And Malecki is still not right. She's
I just
spoken
heard
about
that.
not fighting ever again. So the best weapon in this fight is going to be Nunez's power. I don't think there's a doubt about that. But the second best weapon and the third best weapon are Pasquale's. She has a huge reach advantage. She has good clinches, and she has a ground game to rely on. And this becomes one of those things like I get rostering Nunez and I get betting Nunez, who her in the distance line is minus 125, which is wild. Excuse me, I get the idea of playing Nunez, but this is one of those fights where if we're still talking about this fight, there's 2 minutes left in the first. How good do you feel holding that Nunez ticket?
0%.
Especially if Pasquale has any success getting her to the ground, which, like I said, that length, the clinches. I mean,
Does she have a reach advantage? Because UFC had her when I imported her at 66 inches for Pasquale, it's 67 for Nunes, but they're notoriously wrong.
Yeah, I mean, they can say that all they want, but there is a very notable difference in their
Gotcha.
physiques.
I'll take your word for it over theirs.
And I think if Pasquale gets it to the ground, there's questions of cardio on both ends. There's just too many questions. So typically in a fight with a lot of questions, especially one where they're saying it's going to go, it's not going to get out of here or the distance. I got 2 bets for this. One of them is the one that the safer one is that fight doesn't start round 3 is minus 150. I think that's solid straight bet. It's a solid parlay piece. I'm just gonna take a ballsy approach. This is leg 3 of the Big 10K parlay. I'm taking Pasquale in the distance at plus 475. I don't know. I think if she's gonna win, it's gonna be in the distance. It's a fight that, again, it's weirdly lined. So I'm gonna take a shot on the dog, getting it done. Pasquale in the distance plus 475. I'm saying it seems like good equity now. 2 minutes in that fight when she's unconscious, I may say it was horrible equity and it should have been plus 47.50. But in a weird kind of low level fight where they expect to finish, you're going to give me 5-1 on one of them. All right.
Yeah.
I think it's worth the shot.
100% agree. I mean, either one could finish at that point. And like you said, 5-1, fantastic. This is a fight I am confident. I'm remaining excited about. Regardless of the previous news, lightweight fight, Ignacio Bahamondes. Well, it was supposed to be a lightweight anyways. Bahamondes
at heavyweight.
Yeah, heavy. Yeah, 6'3", Bahamondes, 75-inch reach, Orthodox fighter, 24 years old, young prospect with a 12-4 professional record, 1-1 in the UFC. Was almost, you could have say, almost 1-2 or 0-2 if it wasn't for that fantastically spectacular spinning wheel kick knockout over Roosevelt Roberts late last year. Rong Zhu going on the other side. You're going against Bahamondes here. Missed weight by 4 freaking pounds. 5'9", 71-inch reach. I guess decided he needed all the help he could get. 21 years old, almost 22. He is 18-4 professionally. 1-1 in the UFC. Let's see here. You go ahead and start this one off. I need to gather my thoughts about Rong Zhu before I go.
So I'm not betting this one at all. And I will say that I was on the Rong Zhu side. I like the takedown upside, and I think the line it was lined. It's recency bias. I don't think Roosevelt Roberts is very good. He's not even with the company anymore. And Bahamondes, yeah, he got a highlight reel knockout, and it looked great, and everybody oohed and awed. And he was winning that whole fight. He was never in trouble in that fight. The fact of the matter is, for all his size advantages and his striking is really nice and fluid, haven't seen him truly tested on the ground. And I think that Rong Zhu hits hard enough where I think once Rong Zhu puts it all together, that kid has some talent. He could be a contender because he hits very hard and his ground game is coming along nicely. Now, I just didn't like what I saw today, and it wasn't just the weight miss. Steven Peterson missed weight by 5 pounds, and he gave us, the bro guns. Like, Rong did not look like he wanted to be there at all. I didn't like what I saw in his eyes. I don't like this new trend, by the way, of knowing you're going to be overweight and weighing in like third. Like, And he
Yeah,
weighed
that's
in
very
after
strange.
Bahamondes, which is like, it's kind of disrespectful. Like, tell your opponent, like, look, man, like, I didn't make weight. Like, don't make the guy cut anymore if you're like, it's kind of disrespectful. So I'm going to not play the fight at all. I don't feel good ever betting on dudes that miss weight by that much, unless you're Steven Peterson, who's hilarious to me. I don't know. I think Bahamondes is going to win now. I don't think he gets a knockout. And I think the minus 190 that I last saw is there's no appeal to me in a fight like this that is a lot closer than that. If Rongju was made weight, that 190 is still way too wide, in my opinion. It's just recency bias, like I said. But what do you got on your end? I think I know what you're doing here.
Yeah. Did he miss weight against Brandon Jenkins? Is this the second time in a row Rongju's missed weight?
I don't know.
I think that might be a thing. Well, if that's true, it just seals the deal for me. I'm sticking with my boy, pink hair, don't care. Rongju, $7,200. I need some salary relief badly this week, and I'm not putting it on Joel Alvarez. I don't care how much Rongju weighs. As long as the fight is not canceled, I'm not putting that extra exposure on Joel Alvarez. So I am riding with Rongju here. Especially if this isn't the first time he missed weight. I don't care if it's calculated. Just come on out and take Ignacio down. That's all I want to see. First round finish, 3-round decision. I don't care. Land as many takedowns as possible. Guy scores 4.7 points per minute. He scored 146 in his win. Now, that would be very nice to get 146 points out of a $7,200 salaried fighter. Both of these guys have made the optimal lineup 1 out of their 2 fights since January of 2021. The last thing I will say about this one, the $9,000 and $7,200 salary pair, the winner makes the optimal lineup 65% of the time. That is the second highest number. A little salary voodoo for you there. So I like both sides. I guess I have to play some Bahamondes now. Technically, I don't feel good about it. $9,000, you're paying up $650 from what you normally would. But he did put up over 103 points in his one win. But as I said, I need some salary relief, and I just don't see it from anybody else really around the $7,200 area, except maybe the aforementioned Ramona Pascual. So I will be riding with Rongju here. Hopefully he eats a bunch of carbs today and really bulks up in order to just be a little wrecking ball and just take Bahamondes down time and time again.
Let me ask you.
I would love to see.
Let me ask you a question before we go on. So, because you're talking about the underdog pool right now, I feel like Rongju is going to be one of the more popular. Him and Alvarez will be the more popular dogs. What do you think Pascual's ownership is going to be?
It'll probably be it'll be raised now that we only have 11 fights, but I think it'll be the lowest out of the 3 for sure.
Okay. Lower than Bobby Green?
Obviously, Alvarez is going to be the highest, and then probably Rongju, and then Pascual.
You think lower than Bobby Green because it's a 5-round fight, or close?
Yeah, I think Bobby Green is going to get thrown in a lot of lineups. A lot of people are probably going to be stacking that main event stupidly, in my opinion. But hey, if it works, then it works. But I will not be stacking shit. I don't ever stack anything. But yeah, it could be a stack situation to try to save some salary, but I think people are on Bobby Green and Joel Alvarez super hard this week, and we'll see if that's going to pay off.
Well, one of us is going to – I'm on one of those guys.
There you go.
Who am I kidding? I'm on both of them. It's not in DraftKings.
Yeah. Next fight, Gregory Robocop Rodriguez going against Armin Petrossian. Armin coming off a Dana White Contender Series fight. He is 6 – this is not – are they both 6'3"? Really? Interesting. 6'3", 71-inch reach, Orthodox fighter, 31 years old. He is 6-1 professionally, and he did win his Dana White Contender Series fight. He is 0-0 in the UFC. This will be his debut fight. Gregory Rodriguez, also 6'3", 75-inch reach, Orthodox fighter, just turned 30, question mark. 11-3 professionally, 2-0 in the UFC. Yeah, 30. Interesting. He has been doing well in his first 2 fights. $8,500 salary, $7,700. What do you got here, Lou? Because DraftKings, when they gave these out, has Gregory as a decent favorite.
So I've seen a lot of love for Petrossian this week. So one of the things about being a good gambler is you have to have a short memory. And I'm going to forgive Gregory Rodriguez for knocking the Iron Turtle out because I love that guy. And that might have been one of my favorite fights of the year. Was that Rodriguez?
It was great.
Such a great fight. Look, you have the angle of Petrossian, of a Dana White Contender Series guy making his debut, and this is a tough debut. Like, this is a really hard debut fight, I think. I like what I've seen of Petrossian striking. He hits hard, he's precise. He may even have an advantage on the feet, but it is very close. He does not have an advantage on the ground. Now, everybody's talking about he has a good get-up game. He hasn't fought a guy like Rodriguez, who he might weigh 230 pounds right now. I don't know how Rodriguez doesn't wrap him up. I have 2 bets on this. One of them is in the 10K parlay. Rodriguez round 1 is plus 200, which I think sounds about right. Yeah. And round 1 sub is plus 550. I'm surprised the sub is such a wide number for him,
because that's his. Round 1 submission.
But this
is
all day. This is recency bias also, where they saw him get a knockout and they're like, all right, well then, I don't understand that. The sub is going to, especially in a fight where his advantage on the ground is so pronounced. Yeah, it's amazingly pronounced that I don't see why the sub's not there. This is the 4th leg of the 10K parlay. What do you got on your end? This seems like a must roster fight.
Yeah, 100%. This is and CM Monk told me to do so. This is going to be my highest exposed fight on the entire card, not only based on the salaries, but like you said, the Gregory Rodriguez side, a lot of people think grappling when it comes to him, which is correct, but he also in the UFC has landed almost 6 significant strikes per minute in his 2 fights. Petrossian only 4.49, and that's a huge number. I say only, but compared to 6, 75% of that volume. Takedown defense, 40%. If you stretched Petrossian's one Dana White Contender Series fight all the way to 15 minutes, that would have been 10 times he would have got taken down. Controlling only less than half of 1% of his entire grappling time in that Dana White Contender Series fight. That is scary when Gregory Rodriguez controls 71% of his grappling time. Armin Petrossian does have a fantastic strength of schedule in his last 5. Like we said, we want it to be over 75, and we are in almost every, in 2 of 4 categories here. So that is pretty decent. Got taken down 3 times by Kolev in the DWCS, but rallied back to land that knockout. My only issue with not I'm going to be rostering both guys. My only fear for Rodriguez here is if he gets rocked, is he going to be able to withstand getting rocked by Petrossian to come back and get his own knockout or land a takedown? Maybe in this case against Petrossian, who gives up takedowns very easily, according to the stats. Maybe if he gets rocked, he can land a takedown and somehow recover and get a sub here. I will be leaning Rodriguez, probably just what you said, round 1 submission. But I'm going to have a decent chunk of Petrossian here. I'll cut out a bunch of other fighters to get to both of these fighters in this fight. So I do like the price point as well, 8,500, 7,700. You are paying up for Rodriguez, but only by about $700. And with the hope that Bro Rock Robama gets the finish here. Next fight. This is
he's been rocked a few times before, by the way.
Who
Rodriguez has been rocked in a couple of fights, and absolutely, and he recovers every time. So I know
it's interesting though. He's up wobbly, and that's the scary part.
Look, he was dead in his last fight until he wasn't, and that's why that was so crazy. Is he thought he was done. And I think I had a time prop in that one instead of. I don't think I had I might have had the Iron Turtle.
That one was super exciting,
but I think I had a time prop also. So I was like in panic mode, and I was like, no, dude, go down. Then he came back. I'm like, no, all right, get up. Keep going.
Next fight, maybe the most talked about fight. Well, second most talked about fight of the entire card. Armin Surukian going against Joel Alvarez. Lightweight fight. Surukian, 5'7", 72-inch reach, Orthodox fighter, 25 years old. He is 17-2 professionally, 4-1 in the UFC. And I believe his only loss was his debut to Islam Makhachev. Ever heard of him? Joel Alvarez on the other side, 6'3" tall, 77-inch reach, Orthodox fighter, 27 years old, almost 28, 19-2 professionally, 4-1 in the UFC, with his only loss coming in his debut against Damir Ismagulov. I'll go ahead and start this one off. 9,100, 7,100. Surukian, the more expensive fighter. You are paying up for him about $400, $550. I'm going to be on the Surukian side in this one. I know a lot of people are on the Alvarez side, and rightfully so. I'm not trying to say that he doesn't deserve that kind of praise. He absolutely does over his surprising yet very impressive knockout win over Thiago Moises. And he is very cheap this week, 7,100. You're getting him $600 cheaper than his average, Joel Alvarez. But I just like Surukian here. I don't think he's going to put himself in positions to get subbed. I think he has a decent fight IQ. I think he's going to rinse and repeat takedowns here. If there's one thing we know about Alvarez is that he will be taken down. He is 0 for 4 in his takedowns, and that doesn't sound like a lot over 5 fights, because who wants to take down a submission master like Joel Alvarez? I think the answer to that question is Armin Surukian. I will be rostering as much of him as possible. Him and Islam are my two main focuses at the 9K and over mark. I just really like what I see from Surukian. And if Alvarez comes out here and finishes him like he did Moises, or even subs him in the second or third round, I will be impressed. But I'm not going to roll with the seemingly recency bias here. I don't even like the salary relief. I guess I'll have him in a few lineups just for that reason. But like I said, I like Rongju more in this position, no matter what he looked like on the scale. I might eat those words, but I'll go down on the Surukian ship if that's the case. So what do you have as far as a line for this one? Or line input?
So this is the hardest fight for me all week, and I went back and forth with it a lot. My main concern initially, I looked at the line and I'm like, oh my God, I'm on Alvarez. Like, that line's wild. And then the line got cut. People agreed. And much like last week with that fat tub of goo, Parker Porter, who I will never forgive for ruining the community's night. The community, like 90% of the people, seem like the tickets were all on him in the distance. And I'm getting that vibe this week with Alvarez. That makes me a little nervous. Now, looking at the way this fight can go, though, there's a clear advantage on the feet for Alvarez. The height, the striking, the angles he comes at, there's a clear strike advantage. And then there's the fact that his takedown defense, if you could have a negative number here, would be his takedown defense. Now, Alvarez has been criticized in the past for just wanting takedowns because he likes fighting on his back. I don't know that he wants that here, and I think he knows he doesn't want that here. So he's got a few paths to win. He has a knockout on his feet. That's definitely in play. I think he has the striking advantage. I don't think you'll argue that. He does have the from the bottom arm bar, but I never like relying on stuff like that. It's a skill, but there's some luck that comes with it, with getting those, and that you need your opponent to make mistakes. But who's to say that he can't reverse them on the ground either? I mean, he has reversals in his bag as well. I'm gonna go with Alvarez. This is another bet where I think the number justifies the play. If this was even money, I don't know that I'm getting there. I'd be very hesitant, but I think even at plus 180, I think there's a lot of value on his side in a very terrifying fight. The final leg of the 10K parlay will be Alvarez in the distance, because I don't see Alvarez winning a decision. I don't know that he can. Unless this stayed on the feet for 15 minutes and nobody got knocked out. If this plays out and it doesn't play out on the feet, he's losing every round. No matter how active he is from the bottom, he's losing every round. So I'm going to take a stab on a dog here. I don't love it. I'm nervous about it. But plus 330 for in the distance for Alvarez in what I think is his only winning condition is solid. I'll take the implied there.
Sounds good. And I won't exactly argue with you about the, like you said, don't think I would argue with you about the striking, but these are the striking stats for Surukian and Alvarez, both with 5 UFC fights in their UFC career. There's a lot of green over here for Surukian, who lands almost as much volume as Alvarez, but gives up only 1.4 significant strikes per minute. That is the third best number at all of lightweight, a 62.8% striking defense. He's the one that's landed a knockdown in his career. He has the much higher striking differential, much better striking efficiency, while Joel pretty much only has the volume numbers thrown and landed. So it
Don't
could
give
be
me the knockdown
I'm
thing
not
either.
saying, I mean, the height and reach is definitely a factor though. So
Well, the only reason that Alvarez doesn't have a knockdown is because he got Moises against the cage and the ref jumped in. I mean, he was going down.
that's true.
So I mean, but I understand your point. I feel like Alvarez is improving leaps and bounds every fight, and
100%.
that's a big thing for me here. So I got, or maybe I just didn't want to bet anybody named Armin this card. I don't know.
Well, I was gonna say you got two chances to make that pass there. The main
The
event, and
people's main event. The
don't
people's
ask
main
me
event.
how this even happened. You could have put any other fight, and don't misconstrue this. I love to see women's fights at the top, second fight, co-main event, main event, all of that. I absolutely love it. Priscilla Cachoeira, who tried to gouge out Jillian Robertson's eyes, both of her eyes. Yeah, exactly. DFS by the numbers. Catch a cheating. Did not get caught cheating. Did get finished, but now she's the co-main event. Insanity. But I digress. This is a women's flyweight fight. Priscilla Cachoeira, 5'7", 65-inch reach orthodox fighter, 33 years old, going up against Ji-Young Kim, 5'7", 72-inch reach. And if that's correct, she has the much longer reach than Priscilla. 32 years old, 9-4-2 professionally, losing record in the UFC at 3-4. What are we thinking here, Lou, as far as any juicy lines sticking out?
So, I always laugh when Brady or Wheezy make these posts like, you don't understand the sacrifices we make as content creators to watch tape on these fights. And I decided now that I'm so experienced at this, I will watch tape. I will, and I have been. Like, I mean, I do every week, but like there's some fights where I just like I know what I'm taking and I know why I'm taking it. I'm like, let me give this fight a chance. And now that I've seen behind the veil, I feel their pain. Now, so I am not betting aside. This is the first of two no bags to be actually, well, it is a yam bag special, but in this case, it is the no bags to be yammed. Anybody just watching the show for the first time, I always like to take one fight to have at least 1 point deduction. I don't believe there has been a point deduction this year yet.
Nope.
But
I don't think so.
But there are two fights. I might get two tomorrow. And I think with Cachoeira's, like, I mean, let's get, how do you go from cheating in a fight and getting subbed in the first to being on the main card? I don't understand.
She cheated in the first fight of the night. That was the first prelim fight.
I don't understand the matchmaking here. Like, I mean, McKinney's DM, like you couldn't put that on the. I mean, I'd rather see Nunez Pascual on the main card. At least that one's going to have some excitement.
This is nothing against Ji-Young Kim. Priscilla Cachoeira, get out of here.
So from a capping perspective, this is kind of simple. Cachoeira has the power. Kim has the volume. I don't know if either one's going to be knocked down. This is going to be 15 minutes of striking. If it goes to the judges, which it's going to, I can't see Kim losing. I think the optics of the volume are going to speak up. But I mean, don't bet this fight. Don't bet bet the point deduction and just root for Cachoeira. If I could bet a point deduction on one fighter instead of the fight, I mean, my God, dude, give me I'm actually surprised this one was plus 2,000 like the rest of them. Surprised I didn't get wise to it and be like,
it should be plus 200.
I mean, that's her. I don't want to say it's her winning. Her losing condition is losing by point deductions. What do you got on your end? I don't know. I can't imagine you're going to have. You're thrilled about this fight.
I mean, if I'm cutting down to say 16 fighters, Kim's not going to be on there, even though the $8,600 salary is, as you know, my favorite salary. Not this week though. I guess I have to roster Cachoeira in a couple of lineups just for the knockout. The points per win. When she does win, it's the highest on the entire card. I know that's only 2 wins, but that is 107.69 points. But she only scores 2 points a minute. So if she doesn't knock out Kim in the very first round, I pretty much just throw those tickets out the freaking window. So I guess it depends on what are the odds I think she's going to win in the first round. I kind of like your breakdown. I kind of like your breakdown. I do like your breakdown, and I kind of think that she's not going to get that early finish against Kim. She does land a ton more volume, as you said. Priscilla eats 7 strikes per minute, and Kim is throwing 5. So Priscilla is going to eat those 5 and ask for more, in my opinion. I don't think that's going to lead to a Priscilla finish. I see Kim being better pretty much everywhere. And unless you get, like you said, some sort of cheating going on, which is pretty much a guarantee.
They'll be cheating.
Yeah, there's pretty much a guarantee at this point. I'm going to have to go with Kim. Like I said, she doesn't even score 80. I guess I didn't say in this show, doesn't even score 80 points when she wins, and that's over 3 wins. She only gives up 80 points when she loses, so she's not getting out here getting finished. So I'm probably going to be fading this fight. You know what? No, I'm not putting Cachoeira in any lineups. I'm not. I don't care if she does score 108 points. I'm not doing it on principle.
It's principle.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, this salary combination is fantastic for making the optimal lineup. Not this week, in my opinion. So we are going to be fading that. You hear that, everybody? Fade that fight. I said it, and I'll stand by it. A weird co-main event of the evening, but that seems to be the MO these days of the UFC. Misha Serkinov, middleweight fight going against Wellington Turman. Wellington Turman, 6 feet tall, 72-inch reach, orthodox fighter, 25 years old, 17-5 professionally. He is 2-3 in the UFC, and you know I hate putting fighters with losing UFC records in my DraftKings lineups. Misha Serkinov, 6'3", looked like a giant on the scales today. 77-inch reach, orthodox fighter, 34 years old, almost 35. 15-7 professionally, 6-5 in the UFC. 10 of 11 of those fights have ended inside of the distance. I'll go ahead and start this one off, and it'll be pretty quick. This will probably be another very high exposed fight for me, with most of my salary going on the Cirkunov side. I absolutely love the $8,300 salary in this spot. You are actually getting a $63 deal on Misha Serkinov, who is barely under his average salary. Scores at a pace of 4.42 DraftKings points a minute. That is the highest on the card out of all of my ranked fighters. Scores 107 points when he wins. Second on the card, just to Priscilla Catch-A-Cheating, as DFS calls her, appropriately so. And he gives up 103.5 when he loses. There are all kinds of points going around Cirkunov fights. This salary does win at a 51% over 7,900, which wins at a 49%. So pretty even there. I just think if I have to pick one of these guys to make the optimal, it's going to be Cirkunov. Wellington Turman, only 73 points over his 2 wins. Definitely not finding too many finishes in the UFC in his young, UFC career, but has ended 11 of 17 pro wins inside the distance. If anyone can be finished inside the distance, it is Misha Serkinov, who is a bit chinny, but also has, shown to be a very good scorer. 5 out of 6 wins, over 100 points. I gotta have the opportunity to have that guy in my lineup. Wellington Turman, I might have a few lineups exposed to him, but I'll be much higher on Cirkunov this week, even though it is, I will admit, a fairly risky play, as he could be finished at any point in the fight. How do you see this one going?
This makes me long for the days of Jamie Pickett in the co-main event.
Oh, geez.
So the Terminator is like the worst. I mean, he's like
he is, right? I shouldn't have him in my lineups, right?
There's nothing about him that I just don't understand them. I mean, he did okay against Silva until Silva just chucked him off and decided enough was enough.
Mm-hmm.
He almost lost against Dalby because of eye pokes. I mean,
yep.
So by the way, this will be your second Yam Bag special.
I was wondering.
I think you have to, and this has all the hallmarks of a fight like that I love to bet a point deduction, whereas Turman's already committed one. So it becomes a habit. And Cirkunov has no cardio at this point. I mean, the problem with Cirkunov is he's tough to trust. He looked horrible against Jocko. And I think that might have been the only decision he's been to in his last 12 or 13 fights. I mean, the guy,
true, correct.
He doesn't get paid by the minute.
Correct.
So there's no way I can bet Wellington Turman unless the bet is who's the next guy that they're going to get cut. But I can't bet him to win a fight. So I'm taking the Yam Bag special. I never seem to get this fight right, the co-main, except for last week.
Turman is 0-2 as an underdog, just to note, in the UFC.
So what I do like is somebody to get stopped. Either Cirkunov's going to just run out of gas and verbal tap in the second, or he's going to just get Turman out of there with some kind of bizarre twisting choke when they go to the ground. I keep seeing Turman knockout. like a lot of people seem to be on that, like they think it's like a slick prop. And to them, I say, have you seen him throw strikes?
That's
Unless
true.
he gets one on the ground, like unless he gets like a ground and pound, he's not gonna like he's not gonna knock him out from a standing position. Turman just doesn't have that in his game. So I'm betting. I'm gonna fade aside. I'm taking the Yambag shot, and I'm gonna take. And I like this number. I think is very good for this fight. Is fight to not start round 3 is -125. I don't typically like doing these fight doesn't starts. Like I always look at unders and alternative of unders, but especially with all those kind of weird like alternate ways you can take a time prop, DraftKings always gets 1 or 2 wrong. And sometimes they're what like, you'll see an under 2.5 is -160 and fight goes to distance will be like -180. I mean, I'll take the extra 2.5 minutes for that shift. But typically if the odds are lying right, I'll look. And this is going to end in the first or second. I think it's -125. The under 2.5 was -165. So it's not worth it to buy that extra 2.5 minutes. I don't know that Cirkunov would even want to start the third round. He just wants to get the hell out of there. And like, he doesn't have the cardio for more than 10 minutes here. So right. But as far as the side, I mean, it's just Cirkunov, I guess. I mean, I guess, I don't know. I trust him more because I don't trust Turman. Why can't they have Turman and Cachoeira fight? That's a fight I'm interested in. And that's where the point deduction prop would be even money.
Let her bring that steel chair into the octagon at that point.
It would be like a pro wrestling match with 2 bad guys trying to out-cheat each other. like the ref turns around.
They'd have to make it an Extreme Rules match.
Like they do the old Ric Flair, like the pin with the handful of tights and the feet on the ropes. And yeah. I mean, and Turman, like, seriously, they're like, everybody loves Sam Alvey. So I imagine people were like, the fuck are you doing to Sam Alvey? Like, how dare you? Yeah. And he almost did it a third time. He did it twice. I mean, they kept telling him, like, well, you wonder, like, with these point deduction bets, you wonder if it's a language barrier with some of these guys. They just don't understand. I mean, they understand when the point's taken.
Right.
But maybe it's not getting through to them. Like, look, you're in the heat of the moment. You're tired. Maybe they don't understand, like, dude, do not fight like that. Like, stop.
Well, once a finger leader, always a finger leader.
And one more thing with these point deduction bets, since I'm giving everybody an education on why I'm crazy and I love these plays. So in the old days, you used to be able, that's like 3 years ago and before, you used to be able to, you had these guys that, like, and I'm just going to say it, a lot of Brazilians, was a strategy was if you're a little tired or you need relief, you go thumb to the eye and you give them you take the 5-minute respite and you get a warning and you move on. But like you saw it in the Costa Vittori fight, the refs are telling them now, if you fight like that from the beginning of the fight, like, and we know what you're doing, like, you're not getting a warning. Like, your warning is in the dressing room. You're not getting that, like, that grace period. And I think that in a fight where you have, I don't know that Turman has great cardio. I mean, he didn't look great in the third round against Alvey. If Alvey threw any punches, he might have been able to get him out of there. And we know Cirkunov does not have good cardio. When you have 2 bums in cardio, shortcuts are taken. And this is a good kind of example for, and I don't think Cachoeira has good cardio either. I mean, she's another perfect example of, any advantage.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're probably going to be looking at there, which is kind of unfortunate, but hopefully we can get Cirkunov on the winning side and he can score a shitload of points for my DraftKings.
Yeah, I'll be rooting for Cirkunov, by the way.
Yeah, for sure.
In no form or fashion will I ever, like I said, unless it's how high do you want him to jump, I'm not rooting for Turman. He is no Johnny Parsons.
Exactly. I was going to say, last fight of the night, Islam Makhachev going against Bobby Green. This one is at catch weight 160, I believe. Bobby Green still trying to make 150. Not still. I mean, he was still trying to make 155. Weighed in, I believe, 158. So even more kudos to Bobby King Green. Makhachev, 5'10", 70-inch reach, southpaw stance, 30 years old, 21-1 professionally, 10-1 in the UFC. He's got 13 of 21 professional wins coming inside the distance. Bobby Green, 5'10", 71-inch reach, orthodox fighter, 35 years old, fought just 13 days ago, 14 if you move it ahead to tomorrow, 29-12-1 professionally, 10-7-1 in the UFC, 18 of 29 wins, finishing inside the distance. I'll go ahead and start this one because it'll be short and sweet. I love Bobby Green. Who doesn't love Bobby Green? But I am going to be putting Islam Makhachev in as many lineups as possible, guys. He scores almost 4 points a minute, 100 points per win. Most of his fights are only 3 rounds. So if he goes to decision, he gets an extra 10 minutes to score 4 points a minute. I just see rinse and repeat takedowns for Makhachev here. Makhachev says this one's only going 2 rounds. I also think that's fine. You could land 5 takedowns in that time. Bobby Green, notoriously tough, is going to keep trying to get up, and I hope he keeps getting up from those takedowns over and over again. Makhachev is just going to, like I said, rinse and repeat, going to rack up 5 points, 5 points, 5 points, all those control time points as well. I will be putting Makhachev in as many lineups as possible this week, like 70-75% minimum. That's why I like a few of these underdogs a lot more than usual this week. Maybe Bobby Green in 1 or 2, just because how do you not take that chance on Bobby Green? But I love Makhachev here. I'm not going to bog you down with any more stats. The guy is a scoring machine, grappling machine, trains with Khabib, blah, 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 blah. Love Makhachev here. What do you got for us, Lou?
So there's a lot of reasons to like Makhachev, Bobby Green on short notice, the wrestling advantage, everything. I just don't care. I just don't care. And every once in a while, ain't a bad analysis. You just got to gamble. I will say this. If you want to bet, Makhachev is hard to bet in this spot for equity, from an equity standpoint.
There's none.
The one bet that I saw, which is now kind of on the rise, is Makhachev by sub or decision. I'm going to check what it has currently. Last I saw, I believe it was minus 260, which is, look, a huge improvement. I don't think he's not getting a knockout. So I don't know why that was lined so low. It's minus 225, Makhachev sub or decision. Now, I think I think if you want to bet Makhachev here, I mean, it's a parlay piece, those odds, but he's not getting a knockout. And he's probably not losing the fight. So I feel like the sub decision prop is pretty safe. But come on. I can't take that bet. So I actually, the one thing I would say is if you want to put Makhachev at the end of a parlay, Green makes it a very, very easy hedge if you're getting nervous.
Yep.
So here are the bets I like on Bobby Green. I have done nothing yet. I'm waiting. I'm like, I can get my fingers like right on the mouse button. I can't hit it yet for Bobby Green. But so like Bobby Green plus 600, that's all well and good.
Sure. I
like the Bobby Green decision prop at plus 1400. I think he's just tough to take out. But then on top of that, there's 2 other weird bets I like. The split decision is 40-1. And I have been saying this to you and the group for weeks. As soon as they announced that fight, what is that split decision prop? Like, let me add it.
What would even have to happen for that? I mean,
he'd probably have to have
a terrible judging.
No, I mean he'd probably have to have
Casey O'Neill judge.
No, I mean I think he'd have to have a late 10-8. I honestly, I think he'd have to have, and Bobby Green has had great last rounds. Now these are 3-round fights, sure, but even against Fizayev, he won that round. I don't care what he looked great, and he looked great against Haqparast. I mean he got stronger as that fight went on. I don't know
for sure,
but also Bobby Green just forget about what he needs. Bobby Green seems to just be in tons of split decisions because some judges hate his style, but if we get D'Amato there. If we get Dan Levy's girl, Adelaide Bird, we get one of these judges, that split decision very much on the table. But then what if he's losing going into the 5th? What if he's got to the 5th and he's losing? Well, round 5 is plus 6,000. And if Bobby Green knows he needs a finish to win, how do you not he's going to go for it. He's got cardio. Even short notice, the guy's got cardio. 60-1 on a round 5 prop. Is it worth a couple of bucks? Now, don't bet the round 5 submission at plus 18,000. I would advise, even for me, I would advise it's not a wise play. But if my actual 2 bets that I would make for this fight that are not Bobby Green ridiculousness, I do like that sub decision prop at minus 225, and I like the over 2.5 at minus 115. It might be minus 110 now. But I'm actually going to take a quick peek here, and over 2.5 is -115. I think Bobby Green's tough, man. And I think people are looking at the Hooker fight that he just immediately chucked him down. It's a very similar situation with short notice. They're going to look at Hooker and be like, well, he's better than Bobby Green, which I don't know that he is. I mean, it's close. They're different. I know their fighting style. They're a little different. They come from a little different backgrounds. And I think Green can hang with him. And, look, if Green can stuff one takedown, he might buy himself a round. Now, can he? Probably not. But he could buy himself a round. And who's to say he can't hurt Makhachev?
He could.
I don't know if he hurts him enough to get him out of there, but could he? I'm saying, could he hurt him enough to at least make him, like, let's say, semi-useless on the ground, like as he's recovering?
Maybe for 10 seconds. I don't know, man. I mean,
come on, man.
I don't know, dude.
Come on, Monk.
Islam 9-0 as a big favorite with in UFC fights over 65% implied odds. Bobby Green 2-3 as a big underdog, 5-6-1 as a regular underdog. I mean, I honestly think that Makhachev is going to get his 4th sub in a row. Hopefully it's going to come late in the fight so I get as many takedown points as possible. I don't think this is the one at all. I mean, how many times do you think Makhachev wins or Bobby Green wins out of 100? Because I think it's like 5.
I think I would take the under on your.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah. So
I just don't know where I don't know where he has it. Even if this was a full camp, I don't know where he has an advantage except for, I mean this like in a serious thing, in intimidation.
Yeah.
Bobby Green's a bad man. That is a bad man right there. And I'm telling you,
in America,
he's going to start opening, but he's going to start running his mouth. I'm telling you right now, he's going to find every angle he can to get inside his head. Now, it's probably not going to matter, but Bobby Green is going to use every tool at his disposal. And that's why we watch these fights, Monk.
That's true.
Never know. But that being said, I will probably sprinkle a little bit on Bobby Green because I hate money. But I think the smartest two bets I think the smartest bet on the board is that sub decision double chance prop at -225. I don't know what it is on FanDuel, but FanDuel is so bad at their sports book that it's probably like -150. Like you might get a great deal on it.
Yeah, they're always like 20 points off, it seems like.
But to me, that's the real play. But I do like the over 2.5. I really think Bobby Green can hang in there. Like, I think he can hang in for a couple of rounds. Maybe round 4, Makhachev as a sub might be worth a shot.
True.
Like late rounds. Maybe Bobby Green finally just runs out of steam at that point. But
Which would be huge. I mean, that he'd score tremendously, in my opinion, if that happens.
Here, I'll give you that. That round 4 sub might have some appeal. That has no appeal to me. It's 14-1. That's pretty bad odds for that condition. But yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for Bobby Green. I'll play those 2 props. Bobby rooting for Bobby Green. That might be a bet I don't care if I lose.
Yeah.
Don't care.
And there we go.
It'll be like $10. I make that in a week. It's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. No worries at all. So, hey, I mean, Lou, we did it. We covered all 11 fights here. I think we broke them down really, really well. Why don't you go ahead and tell the people anything they need to know about where they can find you or about MMA, the MMA Engine?
Sure.
Before we get out of here.
You can find me at Lou Betya on Twitter. And we just created the official MMA Engine Twitter account, MMA_Engine. Please look for us, follow for updates. A lot of product updates coming out in the next couple of weeks. If you're a content creator or a user, we have something for you. And we look forward to having you on our site. What about you, Monk? Where can the people find you?
100%. I mean, you got to keep an eye open for anything MMA Engine related. We are going to start rolling out more and more information regarding that every daily, pretty much, for the next few weeks. But in the meantime, you can find me at MonkMMATics. Follow me on YouTube. I was going to say this channel, but we are officially on the MMA Engine channel. Super exciting. Go ahead and follow me, MonkMMATics, on YouTube as well. I release a weekly show, Game Theory, breaking down all of the fights for the upcoming weekend from a DFS perspective. Tons of stats, salary histories, all kinds of stuff. Be sure to check that out. And check me out on Wednesdays on the DFS show, Pub Sports Radio, with Brady, Wheezy, and Luke from SWR Betting. Other than that, guys, yeah, just give the MMA_engine a follow on Twitter. I believe it's the same thing for Instagram, but be sure to hit that Twitter. We will be using that more frequently in the coming weeks for sure. So I guess I just want to say thanks again for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Share this, give it a like, give it a subscribe, and I want you all to enjoy the fights this week. So enjoy, and we will see you next week on Monk and Lou's Happy Hour. Peace out, guys.
Take care.